Hello! In this new video in English, I made another short extract of a recent training session about Capella. In about 12 minutes, I will try to introduce the basics of Capella diagrams for beginners. So if you want to know the difference between delete from diagram and delete from model in Capella blank diagrams, this video is for you. Enjoy!
Okay, so we have to create a first diagram called OAIB. I will explain progressively that each diagram in Capella has an acronym with 3 or 4 letters: OABD, OAIB, OAS. When you work on a daily basis with Capella, you learn all these acronyms, and in a few weeks, you know them by heart, and without thinking, you know what is a PAB or PFBD or LFBD or LAB. Or if you don't know, when you are a beginner, in the Activity Explorer, in fact, the acronym is explained. There is a nice icon showing, okay, this is a breakdown of activities. This is more a data flow between activities. This is more a scenario. Okay, so both the icon and the text, hopefully, will help you when you are still not very familiar with Capella, will help you to choose the diagram type. Then, when you will be fluent in Capella, the acronym will be enough, and you will already know what's inside. The boss told us to create 2 OAIBs first. Okay, so let's create an OAIB. To create a diagram in Capella, the best way is really to go to the Activity Explorer, choose the level at which I want to start. So I could start at physical architecture doing bottom-up modeling, but for the training, we prefer to do top-down. So let's click on operational analysis. And now we have methodological topics. We want to create something related to activities and interactions, so probably the second one. Yeah, OAIB, operational activity interaction. By the way, B, what does it mean, B? There is no clue about the B here. BD breakdown, okay. S scenario, okay. B here, I don't know why. It's not in the name here, it should be. It's blank. So blank in English means empty. Remember, a diagram is a partial filtered view of a model. A blank diagram is so partial that it's even empty in the start. Okay, even if you have created compatible model elements, in fact, a blank diagram will always be empty when you open it. And then you will have 2 possibilities: either to create new model elements by creating graphical objects, or to insert existing model elements in this new diagram and to create just graphical objects. So I will do just a little demo in 5 minutes, just to show you, because it's not the same user interface. Even if you know Enterprise Architect or Cameo Systems Modeler, it's not the same. So we just click here, and it proposes a name. Well, the name here is not very meaningful, so let's rename it. Let's keep the acronym, but rename the diagram. We will create a diagram about, well, in the weather domain, let's create something called main weather process, business process. You click on OK. And it opens a new window now. It's a blank, so it's empty. And now, of course, the palette on the right is completely dependent on the diagram type and, of course, of the level. So you will have different groups in the palettes for all the different diagrams in Capella. You will always have a common group at the end. So in an activity and interaction blank diagram, the main goal is to create either activities or interactions. And in a blank diagram, in all the blank diagrams at all levels of Arcadia, you will find groups of comments that look like operational activity and interaction, and then operational activities and interactions. Okay, but you have a strange icon before, and if you put the mouse on it, it doesn't say the same thing. Here it's to create. Here you create a new model element. Here also. Here you don't create a new model element. You create a graphical object corresponding to an already existing operational activity. To create something with Capella, forget everything, all the other tools. You click on the palette, then you release your mouse, and you click somewhere in the blank diagram, and it creates a new graphical object with a default size. The left top corner is where you clicked, and it has also created a model element. In the Project Explorer, you see model elements. In the diagram, you see graphical object. This graphical object, you could resize it. Okay. You can rename it. A1. Okay. When you rename the graphical object, it renames the model element. And if you rename the model element, it renames the graphical object. To create another activity, I just click again on the palette, click elsewhere. By the way, I could align. You see the line that is here? I could align the top of this activity with the bottom of this one. Okay, this is activity 2. It has created a new model element in the Project Explorer. If I create an interaction, I click on interaction. Then if I am in the white, I can't do anything because an interaction must start from an activity. So I have to be inside an activity to be able to do something. So when I'm inside an activity, I can click again. An interaction can't go to the same activity. It has to go to another one. It can't go to the blank. It has to go to another activity. So here I can release the mouse and click again. And it has created automatically an arrow with a name. I could rename it. And I just create another one. Okay, I don't rename it. I can, of course, move this. I can do that and so on. Okay. Okay, so here by default, by the way, I don't see the interactions. And what I want to do now is just to show you that the semantic browser now tells you when you select an activity, it becomes the current element of the semantic browser, and it tells you it has an incoming interaction called interaction 2 coming from operational activity 2, and it has an outgoing interaction int1 going to operational activity 2. Okay. If I select an interaction, it is a model element also going from a source activity, A1, to a target activity, operational activity 2. It appears in one diagram and so on. And now the very important thing is that if I select an activity, I have two different delete available. I have delete from diagram and delete from model. So I will do both and undo after. If I delete from diagram, it only deletes the graphical object. Okay, it has deleted the graphical object. By the way, it has also deleted the interactions graphical objects, but the A1 activity is still in my model. You can see it in the Project Explorer on the left. And if I select again my operational activity 2 in my semantic browser, it still tells me that it has an incoming interaction int1 from A1 and an outgoing interaction 2 from A1. Okay, so delete from diagram didn't modify the model itself. It just modified this graphical view. The underlying model is the same. Okay, and now how can I bring again my A1 activity? There are three ways to do it, in fact. One would be to undo, Control Z. Undo is nice just after you have done something. But imagine that you did a lot of interesting thing after. To bring back the activity 1, that's where you use the insert button. Insert means you click on it and you click in the diagram. You ask the tool, are there other activities that exist in your model but are not yet shown in the diagram? So the tool tells you that the operational activity 2 is already there, but there is another activity, which is activity 1. You can select it, put it here, and then it will appear automatically in the diagram. And by the way, the interactions automatically show. You don't have to ask it. So insert means you have some model elements that exist in your model. They are not yet shown in this diagram. You can insert them. If I delete again, in fact, drag and drop works the same. Okay. So depending on your taste, once again, if you have a lot of model elements, drag and drop is maybe a little more tricky, but and here you are sure that you will only have the pertinent model elements available. You could try to drag and drop a logical system here. It seems to work, by the way, but it doesn't. So this was delete from diagram, just modifying graphical objects, diagrams, and not the model itself. Now, if instead of deleting from diagram, I delete from model, this time, by the way, because it's important, the tool asks me a confirmation. Are you sure you want to delete activity 1? Because, by the way, it will delete also interaction 1 and interaction 2 from the model, not only graphically. An interaction in Arcadia can only exist if it has one source and one target. So if I delete A1, it tells me you will also delete these model elements. Are you sure? Yes. So the diagram looks the same as before when I deleted from diagram, but now you can see that A1 doesn't exist any longer in the Project Explorer. If I select operational activity 2 in my semantic browser, it's alone in the world and no other activity is talking to it. So hopefully undo works also for model deletion. Once you know that this creates both a graphical object and a model element, this only deletes a graphical object. This enables to add an existing model element to the diagram, and this deletes from model. You know the basics of the blank diagram in Capella, okay? And for people who already use a modeling tool, it should be quite obvious the difference between a graphical object that you can move, resize, and so on, and a model element which exists in a unique way. So maybe we can do other diagrams where this model element will appear. So there will be different graphical objects with the same name in different diagrams, but there is only one model element.